In today's tutorial, let's learn how to do a trendy baby afghan, very contemporary. You can change the colors as often or as little as you wish, and this is going to create a really new effect. And let's talk about that in just a moment. Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd as well as yarnspirations.com. I'm your host Mikey. Today we're going to work on the trendy baby afghan. Now this is kind of very trendy. It's like the grays and the beiges, and this is pale gray, and this is vintage white, and this is part of the Bernat blanket yarn, not the baby blanket yarn. So you can mix and match those, and we'll talk about that in just a bit. So what we have here is that we are changing colors very strategically, so it looks like it's a zigzag. It actually reminds me of piping of a cake that you would find decorated, and actually looks really neat. So you're going to need two colors to be able to do it. If you want to do this exact, if you want to change your colors more, that's up to you. What you're going to need is, if you're going to follow the pattern exactly, you're going to need 2 balls of vintage white and then 2 balls of pale gray if you would like to follow this particular example, and you'll have a really neat look. So let's without further ado, let's talk a little bit about the yarn, and I'll be right back. So here are two brands of yarn. One's called Bernat Blanket, the other one's called Bernat Baby Blanket. What is the difference between the two? The only difference is marketing. So for example, Bernat Blanket here is more geared to home decor. It's more solid colors, more adult in nature, where the Bernat Baby Blanket here has colors that you would see typically in baby afghans, baby colors, nursery rooms, even colors that are more geared for kids. So you can actually mix and match. What you will know, and what you should know, is that there's no two colors the same. So for example, the Bernat Blanket, there's no colors that are in this line that are also in this line. So you can look in between the two and actually kind of mix and match. So if you're looking for a vintage white, you'll look for this one. You're looking for pure white, you're gonna look for this one. So you just mix and match, and it's a lot more easy. You can do anything that you want to with these particular tutorials that I'm about to teach you today, and it's just a lot of fun. So let's begin to work on this project together. So here's my one yarn. So we're gonna need two colors. You gotta start off with one. In mine I start off with the pale gray, and we're gonna create a slip knot. Now the pattern asks you to do chaining of 78. So the 78 is what keeps it in line, but here's the secret. If you chain in sets of 2, you'll always have a match. So if you change the sizes, you will change the amount of yarn that you will need, and the afghan and all that information is available on my pattern. That's available. There's a link in the more information of this video. So remember, the first slip knot never counts as 1 if you chain in sets of 2, so 1 and 2, or if you're following the pattern, chain 78. That's up to you. So 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, and 1 and 2. So once you get to the size that you want, you can stop, and then I'll show you how to do the next part of this tutorial. To do the next part of this tutorial, there is no border for this particular afghan, but what we're going to do is that you're going to go back the 4th chain from the hook. So just count back. So you got 1, 2, 3, and 4. Turn it over and get the back hump only, and double crochet twice into that same stitch. 1 and 2. So across this chain, what you're going to do is that you're going to skip the next chain that's available to you. So skip the next one and go to the second one over, and double crochet 2 more times into that one second one over. Just like that. Okay, skip the next one and go to the second one over, and put in 2 double crochets. And you're gonna do that all the way across. So no matter how big your chain is, so skip the next one, go to the second one over, okay, and skip the next one, go to the oh sorry, there's only 1 stitch left, so that means that you skip one and go to the final one for 1 double crochet only. Okay, so the very final stitch will be 1 double crochet by itself. I want you to fasten off at this point, and what you have at this point is that you have all these groups of 2. So you see how there's 2. We're gonna be playing into the gap spaces in between these, so it's not a stitch, it's just a space. So you'll have 1 double crochet on the outside, 1 double crochet on this outside, and then you'll have them all kind of groups of 2 in between. Let's fasten off. Let me show you how to do that. So we're just going to trim our yarn. You don't want to waste this yarn. It's pretty thick, so just pull through the yarn and just hide it by just grabbing the hook and just pulling it through a few of these stitches. And when you go into the next row, because you're going to be playing within these stitch areas, it's gonna lock it in a position because it's gonna wrap around the other section. Okay, so I'm not gonna show you how to fasten off anymore in this tutorial, so this is how you would do it. So you can safely just trim this yarn at this point, and I'll show you how to start the next color. So here's the project. Let's turn it and get it ready. So we're gonna grab our next yarn, create a slip knot first on your hook, and it will make it easier for you to hide in those loose ends. So you're gonna come into the top of the first double crochet, and you're going to just fasten on. So just with a slip stitch, just fasten on, and then chain 3. So 1, 2, 3. Use this line or this strand and just lay it over the top, and you want to come into between the next group of 2. So every time you see these groups, they're in sets of 2. So you're going to go right in between the 2 sets. Okay, so you see it, here's one set, you're going to just separate it and go right into a space. So you're gonna put 2 double crochets into that same space, and keep that straggler down on top. It'll prevent you from having to weave in your ends at the end, because you can just safely trim it, and you can only do it one time. If you carry it more, you're gonna see it on your afghan, so just only hide it one time and just let it fall in behind. So here's your next group of 2. You're going to put in 2 double crochets. So this causes the visual line to split, so you see that the blue is kind of split apart. Okay, here's the next group of 2. Just come into the gap space. Okay, and then here's the next group of 2, and then here's your final. So you're gonna go all the way across doing the same thing. So you're going to just do 1 double crochet into the final, and then you're gonna fasten off. So you really can't carry your colors, because what's gonna happen is that the blue is gonna start on this side but it ended over here. So you can't just carry your colors on the outside and then just throw it around the border. The only way you could do that is if you had 3 colors, and then you could carry it up and then just do a border to kind of hide everything in. So just fasten this off, and I'll be right back and we'll start the blue once again. So I'm just getting ready for the next one, and because I buried this in, I can just safely trim if I want to. I tend to wait to the very end of my afghan. I don't tend to trim these, and so then it kind of looks like a mess at the end, but it's just easier to do it then, and then everything tends to stretch and then fall into place. Let's grab our blue once again. And remember, you can change the colors as often as you wish. It doesn't have to be 2 colors, it can be more. So we're gonna just go to the top of the double crochet that you ended with, fasten on, and chain 3. Okay, so here is your straggler, so leave it down on top. So you're gonna come to your first group of 2 and just slam in 2 double crochets into that chain space, or into that gapping space. So you just gotta open it up. So now that we just did that, I'm gonna let the straggler fall in behind because it's now trapped, and I just continue to go along. So because the lighter colors stand out more when you do this, the white is going to look like icing. It's actually really kind of neat. So whatever lighter colors that you have on your particular project, or accent colors, it's going to stand out really cool. Okay, so I just went all the way across. So all of these nesting kind of stitches just kind of sit within each other, so there's nothing moving like back and forth on a diagonal. It's all pretty easy. Once you get to the end, just double crochet into the final, and then you'll fasten off once again, and then you'll start the next color up. So you can really see that the zigzagging effect really happens. So this is kind of a cool thing. You just have to use your 2 balls of your one color, 2 balls of the next, continue until you run out of yarn, and then you'll have the afghan that is mentioned within the pattern. So until next time, I'm Mikey on behalf of the Crochet Crowd as well as yarnspirations.com. We'll see you. Bye bye.